Imagine this. Have you ever thought about how your brain is like a supercomputer, processing huge amounts of information every second? Let's dive deep into this comparison, highlighting the complexities of both the brain and a computer. Just like a computer, the brain's full potential isn't easy to unlock. But why is that? Let's explain that it's not some mystical force holding us back, but rather the intricate biology and electricity at play in our brains. Essentially, our brains operate on electrical signals that control everything from our thoughts to our actions. Understanding this electrical foundation is crucial to tapping into the brain's full potential, but it's no easy feat. So, how does our body's master electrical organ manage its tasks with such incredible efficiency? Let's unravel the mystery together. In the realm of angels, you might have noticed a recurring pattern in names, like Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, and Raphael, all ending with the suffix L. Interestingly, another L plays a vital role in how our entire being functions: electricity. Our bodies operate on electrical impulses. We can send these signals into the brain and receive them back out. It's quite remarkable when we think about the efficiency, considering the brain's energy usage. An adult human brain operates on approximately 12 watts of power. To put that into perspective, a typical desktop computer consumes around 175 watts, and a laptop around 60 watts. Many of us experience overload and burnout because we fail to understand the importance of resistance in managing the flow of these currents within the specific circuits of our brains. It's akin to having appliances in your home without the necessary resistors to regulate the current. They're bound to burn out. It's a misconception to view burnout solely as an emotional reaction to long hours or demanding work. Recent scientific findings reveal that burnout extends beyond mere feelings and can have significant physical repercussions beyond our professional lives. Utilizing advanced methodologies, interdisciplinary research teams are uncovering that burnout isn't just a mental state but a condition that impacts both the brain and the body. Similar to how burnout impedes professional development, new studies indicate that persistent stress associated with burnout hampers personal and social well-being, disrupts cognitive abilities, and affects hormonal balance. Eventually, this leads to noticeable alterations in brain structure and function. Long ago, in Egypt, there was a group known as the Copics who were scientifically inclined. They emphasized the importance of knowledge over grace and faith. They understood the principles of physics and how they applied to human existence. The exploration of planets discovery that began in October 1955 was fascinating. It all started with the initial discovery in Pegasus, which was aligned with a sign mentioned in the Book of Revelation. As we delved deeper, subsequent discoveries followed a specific pattern. The second discovery was in Virgo, the Virgin, and it progressed through to the seventh discovery associated with Leo, representing the pineal gland and the 7 chakras of the brain. The eighth discovery, which fulfilled another biblical reference, occurred in Cygnus, the swan, symbolizing the last trump with its sound. After this fulfillment, there was a pause in discoveries until recent times. Another intriguing aspect highlighted by the Copics was the word Azozio. It was believed that Jesus imparted this knowledge to the Coptic Gnostics in Egypt. Among these teachings were references to the eighth-spoked wheel, the word Azozio, and the cipher 4, 5, 5, 5. According to Jesus, these names, numbers, and seals were essential for ascending to the realm of light. So, Azo refers to light-absorbing or photon-absorbing Azo. This complex network of discoveries and teachings weaves together a fascinating narrative of celestial exploration and spiritual enlightenment. Hey, let's dive into something really interesting about Samael. So, the name Samael has its roots in the ancient Sulu language, where it means current. Now, when we talk about a current, we're often talking about something flowing steadily, like electricity or water. And dealing with currents naturally involves facing resistance. Think of it like this. When electricity flows through your brain, it creates pathways. Samael is kind of like that electric current, opening up pathways in your mind. Now, here's where it gets really intriguing. Samael is often linked to the character known as the devil or Satan in religious stories. So, imagine this current of energy, flowing through your mind, creating new pathways, but also maybe stirring up some trouble, like the devil causing mischief in stories. Isn't that fascinating? The idea that this ancient concept of a current, Samael, is tied to something as significant and complex as the devil in religious tales really makes you think, doesn't it? Electricity is all around us, and it's super important for our bodies. Our cells can carry electricity, which helps with lots of things our bodies do. One big thing electricity helps with is our nervous system. This system sends signals all over our body and to our brain. It's like a fancy network of electrical messages that lets us move, think, and feel emotions. But here's the thing. Too much electricity in our brain, just like too much in an appliance, can cause problems. Imagine if your brain got overloaded, overheated, and burnt out, just like a toaster. That's not good. So, why does this happen? Well, it's because our brains need something called resistance to work properly. It's not about resisting something bad or evil. It's about what happens when electricity meets resistance in our brain. Resistance is like a barrier that keeps the flow of electricity in check. Without it, things can go haywire. Just like how appliances can blow up if there's no resistance, our brains can feel overwhelmed, overheated, and burned out if they don't have resistance. So, the key is to understand that resistance is important for our brains to function well. It's like having a safety mechanism to prevent things from going wrong. Just like how a circuit needs resistance to work smoothly, our brains need it too. So, next time you think about electricity, remember that it's not just about letting it flow freely, but also about having the right amount of resistance to keep things running smoothly. Environmental stress can have a big effect on a part of the brain called the pineal gland, which can then affect how awake and alert our bodies feel. On page 49, there's a discussion about a disease called multiple sclerosis and where it might come from. According to research done at Einstein College of Medicine, because the pineal gland releases a hormone called melatonin in different patterns throughout the day, week, season, and year, it might have something to do with why multiple sclerosis symptoms come and go. This helps us understand more about how our bodies work. Melatonin isn't just about sleep, it might also help slow down aging. On page 50, there's a mention of how our immune system, which fights off sickness, is connected to the pineal gland. Researchers at the University of Spain found this out. They also found a link between Parkinson's disease, which affects movement, and melatonin. Many studies have shown that melatonin can make people with Parkinson's disease sleep better. In 2016, scientists looked at lots of studies about melatonin and sleep problems in diseases that make the brain stop working properly. They found that melatonin can help these patients sleep better too. So, it's really important to understand how melatonin and the pineal gland affect different diseases, especially if someone you know is sick. This knowledge might help them make better choices about their treatment. On page 56 of the book, it states that before delving into the concept of Golova, one should pause and consider its significance. Golova, which means circuit, holds a profound metaphorical meaning. Just like our brain functions as an intricate electrical circuit, it is within this circuitry that we may encounter the divine presence. This notion is reflected in the biblical account found in the book of Daniel, chapter 5, verse 5, on page 728. In this ancient narrative dating back to the 6th century BCE, during a period when the Jewish people were held captive in Babylon, a remarkable event unfolded. A hand, accompanied by an arm, descended from above and inscribed a message on the wall of the palace. This occurrence baffled the king, who sought interpretation. It was Daniel, a wise and revered figure, who was summoned to decipher the divine message. Through Daniel's analysis, it became clear that the hand of God intended to convey a profound message to the king. A message foretelling the decline of his kingdom. This ancient tale serves as a powerful reminder of the intricate workings of divine intervention and the significance of interpreting the signs that manifest within the circuits of our existence. When we talk about how the brain works, it's important to understand it in relation to a computer. Just like a computer has gates that control and organize its circuits, the brain operates in a similar way. These metaphorical gates are essential for managing the flow of information and electrical signals within the brain's complex network of connections. Think of a neural circuit as a group of neurons that are linked together by synapses to perform a specific task. When these circuits are activated, they can connect with other circuits to create large-scale networks within the brain. This concept of neural circuits has actually inspired the design of artificial neural networks, although there are some significant differences between the two systems. It's fascinating to think about what people have been talking about for thousands of years regarding the movement of energy through the body. For centuries, Buddhist monks have been sitting in temples, especially in the Himalayas, focusing on this energy flow while chanting Om. They made sure that this energy kept flowing smoothly without getting blocked, scattered, or broken apart. By harnessing the power of the second chakra, they were able to ignite their willpower. They knew that directing energy towards something that doesn't come into reality can leave you feeling stuck or useless. If something isn't working despite your efforts, it's important to let it go. The feeling of freedom when you're no longer controlled by attachments can be incredibly empowering. The more you let go, the less resistance you'll feel in your energy flow, making you feel lighter and more connected to the spiritual realm rather than being bogged down by material concerns. In the Bible, there are some verses where the words remain unchanged when translated. This forms an interesting pattern, similar to how certain geometric combinations sum up to 100, simplifying to 1. This pattern is commonly seen in measurements involving the cubit, where a dot represents 1 unit. When dealing with quantities less than 1, we use decimal notation, signified by a dot, with the number to the left representing ones, and the number to the right representing tenths. This notation has evolved over time, much like the ancient Greek symbol of theta, which holds significance in neuroscience. Theta is a term used to describe a specific frequency range of brainwaves, which are rhythmic electrical impulses generated by the brain during states of deep relaxation, meditation, and light sleep. These brainwaves, known as theta waves, are linked to creativity, intuition, and subconscious processing. They typically oscillate between 4 to 8 cycles per second, commonly observed during meditation, visualization, and hypnosis. Now, let's delve into how this connects to the brain's workings. Pythagoras, the Greek philosopher and mathematician who employed theta in geometry, made an intriguing discovery. When assigning a circumference measurement of 1000, the diameter calculates to 318. This finding underscores the interconnectedness between geometry, ancient symbols, and the inner workings of the mind, offering insights into the mysteries of human cognition and perception. Angel numbers are special numbers that some people believe come from the spiritual realm. If you keep seeing the same number sequence over and over again, it might be a sign that you're receiving messages from angels. Each sequence is thought to have its own unique meaning and importance. Let's take a closer look at the number 318. Its significance is tied to theta, which is a brainwave state associated with deep relaxation and meditation. Within theta, numbers can be added like zeros without losing their essence. Theta waves create a rhythm in the brain that affects how we learn, remember things, and navigate space. In animals, theta waves are linked to the 8th letter of the Greek alphabet and vibrate at a frequency of 4 cycles per second. This frequency can be seen as 3 within 1, corresponding to 4 to 8 Hz. Typically, theta waves oscillate between 13 to 30 cycles, while alpha rhythms fall between 8 to 13 cycles. The insight we've uncovered in our research is incredibly important because it helps us understand how our brains work, what they need, and how the circuits inside them function. It's like shining a light on the inner workings of our minds. Knowing how to handle the intense flow of information within these circuits is crucial. Think of these circuits as pathways that carry electrical signals. Their ability to withstand this flow is often represented by the ancient chant of Om. It's crucial to understand that every experience we have, every thought, every action, is a result of these electrical impulses moving through our brain circuits. Now, let's talk about the concept of the devil or Satan. It's not meant to be taken literally. Instead, it's a symbol for the challenges we face in resisting certain impulses. Imagine it as a metaphor for an electric current that our brain circuits must push back against. When our ability to resist these impulses weakens, it's like a circuit overload. This overload can lead to burnout, which can manifest in various ways: stress, breakdowns, illnesses, strokes, and other health issues. All of these stem from our inability to resist the constant flow of information and impulses entering our brains.
All of this is scientific documentation. Matthew 28:2, there was a stone. The electromagnetic field rolls the stone away from the fornix. The angle causes the arc in the brain receptors. In Egypt, the pyramid was open to an angle of Orion, the gate of God, the OR gate, which is a computer logic circuit. And then it defines logic circuit, a computer switching circuit that performs problem-solving functions. What problem do you have? You say, well, geez, where do I start? I get all kinds of problems. And you find, why can't I solve these problems? Because the switch isn't opening. The switch isn't functioning. Wonder if you have in the circuit of it, say you've got this big family problem. What am I going to do? What am I going to do with the kid? What am I going to do with my husband? What am I going to do with my wife? And here's the switch. Now, in order for you, here's the understanding. This will bail you out of the problem. This will bring the money that you need. But there's a switch that's closed, okay? And that in order for you to understand, the switch has got to be open. The right amount of current is not coming into the brain to open the switch. And so you're never going to be able to figure this out. And the reason is there's no resistance. The circuit is operating on overload. It's not working properly. Do you know, do you have any idea that in the middle of a computer, in the point of memory, is a thing called RAM? Do you know that? In the middle of your brain is a thing called Ammon's horn. Is the name of an Egyptian deity whose symbol is the ram. In the middle of a computer is a structure called RAM, and they are both in the part of the brain responsible for memory. And so what do? Are you working on it? No, you go to church. This whole world is subject to what's coming out of your head. And that's what Buddha said thousands of years ago. He said the reason that you have this total upheaval in the atmosphere and in the environment is because of all the negative vibrations coming out of the brains of billions and billions of people all over the place. If you can create bad vibes in your house, and you can, what do you think happens when we got billions of people on the planet Earth with there's nothing more than a pimple on the rear end of the Milky Way? Billions of people having bad vibes. What's happened? The Earth is puking. Everybody's freaking out. Why? Because everybody's brain is on overload. Nobody knows. I've got a quote from the encyclopedia right in the middle there. And it says the brain works somewhat like both a computer and a chemical factory. Brain cells produce electrical signals and send them from cell to cell along pathways called circuits. So then Samael is the current that must be resisted by the circuit. And what does it say in James chapter 4 and verse 7? It says, resist the devil and he'll flee. What do they do in church? You know what they say in church? Devil, I rebuke you. All right, this is what I want you to do. Sit in front of your computer, or we're right here. Let's go sit in front of this electric light. I rebuke you. And the light's going to say, I rebuke you too. And it's going to, and if it's time to burn out, it burns out. And when it burns out, you stand here, I lay hands on this thing in the name of Jesus. So what? It's not going to go on anyhow until you put a bulb into it. You gotta screw it in. No matter what you do, you gotta screw the bulb. So the point being, you cannot treat your brain any differently than you treat an electrical appliance. It has to have proper current, proper voltage, proper resistance. The circuits have to operate properly. Let's look one more time so we understand it. Can you feel on top of your shoulders? Is there a round thing up on top of here? That's a head. Inside of the head is a brain. That brain is a computer. As you've seen here, that brain is electrical circuitry. If your brain is electrical circuitry, if that circuitry is operated by current, then it must have resistance. It's the same as any other computer, and so you have to treat it exactly the same. You have to understand the circuits, you have to understand the current, and you have to understand the resistance. It is no different than that. In something such as a computer, you can only have so much current going in, or you're going to burn it out. If you have too much, you burn the circuit. You've heard of people burning out too much. Then you read about resistance. So how do you do this? That's the instructions. Yoga. See what the word means? What's it mean? Yoke. doesn't it? All right? Now open the Bible to page 787. Matthew chapter 11, verse 29. And what does Jesus say? Take my yoke, take my yoga upon you, and learn of me. For I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy, my burden is light. My yoga, take my yoga. How do I take your yoga? Practice the single eye. Take no thought. Seek within yourself for the kingdom. Take my yoga upon you, and you shall find rest for your soul. Something that most people have never found the whole time they've been alive. You'll find rest for your soul. It's meditation. It fixes the mind on the object of knowledge. Profound contemplation. And what is profound contemplation? Who is the one that you must resist? Samael. He is the one that will resist you. And so then what is profound contemplation? What is profound meditation? Samadhi. The perfect absorption of thought in the object, its union and identification. So it is samadhi which overcomes Samael. It is the key. It is the symbol of 8. It is a zogio. It is 4555. Helena Blavatsky put it this way. Fantasy. And you know what each one of us has taken instead of understanding this? We've taken fantasy. We've lived a fantasy. When you go to church, it's like going to Disneyland. There's somebody playing an organ. And there are people get up with robes on, and they have lights, and they have candles, and all of these things, and it's nice, and there's not, it's really pretty, especially on Christmas Eve, and all of these things are nice, but they don't change the circuitry of your brain. They don't change the current of your brain. They don't apply the resistance to the current, which is burning you up. They don't do that. And so Blavatsky put it this way: fantasy is an impediment to our intellectual conceptions. And when we are agitated by the inspiring influences of divinity, if the fantasy intervenes, the enthusiastic energy ceases. For enthusiasm and fantasy are contrary to each other. It's something seen but no physical reality. It's religion. It's emotionalism. It's feeling. It's the things that so many people seek for. It's the very thing that will oppose our union with God. The creative, unrestrained fancy. Something that's such an invention that it is a creation of fantasy. Fiction characterized by a highly fanciful or supernatural elements. Fiction. And our whole life has been consumed in the fiction of religion. And because of the fiction of religion, we have missed the reality that we are real entities with a real functioning computer that we have totally neglected because we have plugged ourselves into this circus that they call religion and traditional